Hey guys, Adam here with another video for you, and today we are actually going to pick up a game, I think. So I was hanging around here in the garage. I'm actually shopping out this Allied Leisure Hearts and Spades. I've had this game forever. It's been sitting here kind of in this area as like a, I don't know, a place to collect junk. I just had stuff all over it for years and years and years, and then finally I was able to get rid of all my crap. And so if you guys remember, I think John did an Ikari Warriors video. We brought the game back, we plopped it right here, and he kind of panned and I went through all of the junk that I have in my garage. Well, recently I acquired a tractor trailer, I guess, for my brother-in-law with much persuasion by my wife. So thank you very much for that. And all of my projects have gone into that trailer, and it's got more than enough room for everything. And so now I can kind of, just use this area as, right now anyway, it's the fall. So use it as workspace for games that I'm actually working on, which is really just two, just this main cab that I have and then the Allied Leisure pinball, which will be on its way out soon. Because my goal is to have my car in here for the winter, which I've never had in my entire life, my car in the garage. This will be a first. And so yeah, this place is getting pruned out. I'm just getting rid of all my junk. But anyway, so yeah, my plans for tonight were to hang out in here and continue to work on this and get it all polished and ready to go. And then I get a tweet from John. So yeah, Double Dragon, that game's been on my short list for a long time. It's a game that I have fond memories of playing with my buddies at the mall. And yeah, I mean, how can you beat $100? So I had every intention on working on this thing tonight, but I guess I'm going on a road trip. I emailed the guy and asked him if it was still available, and he says, yep, $100, it's yours. You just gotta come get it. So it's about a 2-hour drive from here. It's in New Hampshire. So I'm gonna hit the road now. It's Saturday evening. I probably won't have time to video anything of me coming back. We'll just hit it in the morning. So anyway, let me stop gabbing. I'm going to hit the road. We'll get the game, and then we'll be back. All right, so here we are Sunday afternoon, and we got the game. And as you can see, it is in really good shape, actually. It's an original Taito cab. No swelling or anything. If you guys remember the last, actually I think it was the last game acquisition video. John actually filmed it. You guys can, I'll put a link here so you guys can see it. The bottom was horrible on that one, and you can see on this one it's beautiful. And the whole cab in general was very clean, and that was the first thing that caught my eye, was just how clean it was. And then it was an original Taito cab. That's really what I wanted, the original Taito. You can see on the inside, just spotless. It's like not really anything cosmetically, aside from the that's the only thing that sucks. So I talked to the owner, and they were like, yeah, it was inside our living room whatever for a while, and it stopped working, and so we just kind of threw it out in the sunroom, and as you can see, the color the sun just totally destroyed all the color. This is actually supposed to be red, and it's just gray. And so I don't know. I'm toying with the idea of just kind of masking it off and painting it red, or just leaving it as is. I don't know. We'll see. Too many projects. But anyway, we fired it up at the place there, and it was making some crazy squealing sound. Let me just turn it on so you can hear that. You probably can't tell because it's really bright outside, but there was some raster going on, but it obviously didn't have sync. Let me turn that off because it's annoying. So yeah, so no sync tells me, actually I wonder if it's actually a power supply issue because of the fact that the sound is going crazy. I'm pointing the camera here because I know where I'm going next. The PCB's down in there. Yeah, so the sync was all scrambled and the audio was all scrambled, and so I figured the first thing to check would be the power supply. But I think this is really hard to pull open, so I might have to here we go. Pull this guy open. And the way this is laid out is you got your little terminal block there. You got your power supply, your transformer, and all that good stuff, fuses and whatnot. And I actually didn't realize this till later because I had pulled this out and was, trying to, just take a look at some different stuff, make sure cosmetically it was fine, the circuit board was fine. And I couldn't get the thing to power on again. I was like, what's going on? I didn't realize this, but there's actually another interlock switch way over there, so when you close this, it'll open up. Let me just pull that out. Where is it? Right here. Pull that out, fire it back up. And I thought that I heard something weird going on. Did I not turn this back on? There we go. so let me just turn the audio down here. I thought I heard some squawking actually down here. Yeah. So I don't know if you guys can hear that. I'll put the camera really close. You hear that? So the power supply itself is making this chirping sound, which is not good. So I think I'm just going to, before I even check voltages or whatever, I'm just going to pull this guy out of here. I have other switching power supplies that I can put in there in its place. So let me do that first, and then we'll see. Who knows, this thing may fire right up. Alright, so we have our new power supply in here. And you can see that I actually unplugged the PCB. I'm going to go ahead and fire this up with it with no load on it, because I don't know where I got this thing. It could have been through, I don't know, an eBay auction. It could have been through a trade or a warehouse raid. Who knows? So I don't want to like drive 7 volts to this thing and destroy it, because I don't know what it's set to right now. So I'm going to just fire it up without any load to it, make some measurements, make sure within the 5 volt ballpark. Then I'll go ahead and turn it off, hook it all up, and then adjust it as necessary. So let me see if I can do this all with one hand. Bear with me. Let's fire this up. My little light on. Yes, it is. Alright, so let me see if I can do this one-handed. And we are at 5.10. That's good enough. So let's turn it off. Plug it in and see. Boy, wouldn't that be nice if it just fired up right away? Alright. Oh, come on. There we go. Alright. Turn it back on. And we are on. And let's just see where we're at. I don't hear any music, so I'm guessing it didn't actually boot up. We might still have some more problems. That's still fine. 5.08. And so, is there anything on the screen? Hey, look at that. Okay. Work RAM is okay. ROM. 63701. I think, is that one of these guys? That is. That's this guy right here. That is HD637B01. I bet you it's that guy right there, which I have no idea what that does. But now that I know that the monitor is working, I mean, that alone, that's worth $100 right there. So why don't we do this? Why don't I just kind of pull this out of here? We'll bring it down to the lab where I have some equipment and I can actually, probe around and see. Let me get a data sheet on this guy and see what he does, and then we can figure out hopefully what's going on. So I'll pull this off and let's head down to the lab. Alright, so we got the board down here in the lab, and I was going to work on it, and then I took another look and was like, this thing is just nasty, dirty. This side not so bad because it was upside down, but the back side is pretty nasty. So anyway, I think I'm just going to give this board a bath before I work on it, and what I do typically is I'll just coat the whole thing in distilled water and then scrub it down with a toothbrush. Distilled water you can get at your grocery store. It says distilled right there, and distilled means it's just 100% pure water, has no minerals in it whatsoever. A lot of people on the forums freak out when you mention you're going to throw water all over your board. The issue is not the water, the issue is the minerals that the water leaves behind. Of course you don't want to run any board with water, distilled or not, where there's still moisture on the board. But it's the minerals inside of the water that conducts electricity. So you don't want to use any water that has minerals whatsoever. So you can scrub it down with distilled water, let the thing completely dry, and you'll be totally fine. I worked for, some of you may know this, I worked for IBM for like 17 years, and they actually had 3 industrial strength dishwashers running on distilled water. And when people would do rework on their boards and they'd have flux and whatever remnants on there, or before they were going to do rework on a board and it looked like this, they would literally fill up these dishwashers with boards and then just run them, cycle them through, and they would come out squeaky clean. So water is not an issue as long as it's distilled water. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll bring these upstairs, I'll scrub them down, give them a bath, let them dry completely, and then we'll start diving into this guy. Alright, so our board is squeaky clean now. You can see that the water did a great job, and so we have the schematics open here. We can start taking a look at some things. I already took a look at some of the basic stuff like reset and the clocks, and then I noticed this halt signal here, which is pin 20, and halt will basically just lock up this device, lock up the CPU. There's multiple CPUs on this board, by the way. This is one of them here. I think this is probably the master, and this is the slave. But anyway, I saw that this guy was tied low all the time, which was disabling this whole thing. I thought, oh, maybe I'm onto something. I actually traced him back to some logic that was controllable by this CPU. So I was like, all right, well, I want to make sure that this guy has control. So I actually probed it, and it was low. But then I rebooted the game, and I could see that the light was actually blinking for a bit, and then it went low. So that told me that, okay, somebody has control over the thing, and it's just that after the self-tests are done, that it decides to hold that, in a disabled state. That's fine. So then I started taking a look at some of this other business here. This is a RAM, and these are muxes, and muxes are basically switches that allow signals to be routed in different ways. And so you can see we have a B bus up here and an A bus down here, and this is just a switch. It just basically goes up or down, lets B drive straight through or lets A drive straight through, basically letting this guy control the RAM, or this other bus, which I think comes from this CPU, control the RAM. All right, so either one can drive the RAM, and the way it decides which one controls it is this input signal here. So, right, so if this is a 0, it switches down to A. If that's a 1, it switches up to B. So I started probing around. I found that this signal here is a 1, so that means the switch is in the up position. And so these signals here should match this, right? Because they just should flow right through. And I found some weirdness going on. Oh, I lost my brightness here. Some weirdness going on with signal 6 to 7. So if we look at the chip in question, it is IC8. And again, I'll just look at pin 1. That controls what direction it's in, and it's a 1, which means B is going straight through. And so if B is being selected here, that means 3 should match 4, 6 should match 7, 10 should match 9, 13 should match 12. So 3 should match 4. 1, 2, 3 is high all the time. 4 is high all the time. That's good. 5, 6 is high all the time. 7 is blinking. Alright, so that's weird. 6 is high all the time. 7 is blinking. Now, just out of curiosity, I went down and said, alright, well, what's going on at 5? Maybe for some reason, just for that signal, the switch is still stuck down. So what's going on at 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ah, sure enough, 5 is blinking and 7 is blinking. So for these signals, it's working properly. The switch is in this up position, but for this one guy here, it's stuck down. And so let me replace this guy here and then see if we can make some progress. Well, I think we have a problem. So you can see that I replaced that one chip there, and that did take care of that issue actually. I checked the legs with the logic probe and it looks good. But I don't know, it was still failing, and so I grew suspicious of the RAM. Remember there's that RAM that's being used by both that CPU and this CPU, and they kind of share it. So I figured when you fire this thing up, I'm guessing that this is probably writing a bunch of stuff to the RAM, and then this one reads it back, and if it reads back a certain pattern that it would expect to see, then the self-test is okay. If it doesn't see that pattern, then it indicates a fail, and then that's when you get that error message up there. By the way, I don't know what's going on with the screen, why it's upside down, but we'll figure that out later. Anyway, so I threw the logic analyzer on there because I wanted to see what was actually going on, and here's what I found. So let me just zoom out a little bit for a second, if I can. All right. If I go back to the beginning of this waveform, you'll see where the first CPU is writing to it right here. And so basically what it's saying is, yeah, I want to enable the RAM. I want to write to it. The address that I want to write to is 0, and the data is 84. Okay, so that is this CPU writing to the RAM. Then if I move down to when it gets read, you'll see that there's a discompare. So let me zoom in on that a little bit. Oops. Make it here so you can see it. There we go. So now it's the other CPU. He's saying, yeah, I want to enable it. I want you to dump the outputs so that I can see it. Dump the outputs on the bus. I want to read from address 0, but look at the data. It's just zeros. And so even though we're writing 84 to the RAM, when you read it out, it's zeros. And so it looks to me like this RAM might be bad, and I don't have that RAM on hand. So we're going to have to pause while I order some on good old eBay, and then socket that guy, replace it, and then, I don't know, we'll see where we go to from there. Well, while we're waiting for the RAM to arrive, I figured we might as well do something. So I came out here, figured let's take a look at the monitor, let's see if it needs any adjustments, and then go from there. Actually, John just left a few minutes ago. If you guys want to see his video, he kind of did a little visit here. He had to pick up a Tempest board set for a project he's working on. we chatted for a little bit. So anyway, I'll probably include a link here and you can check that out. But anyway, let me grab the test pattern generator that I have. We'll slap it on here and we'll go from there. Okay, hopefully you guys can see that here. I got it on the tripod. Cool, so right off the bat, I can see some bleeding here and here. Let me go through a couple of frames and see. Yes, so let's leave it on here for a minute. So I don't think this is a convergence issue. I think I'm just bleeding off. Well, that's purple, so what does that mean? Blue and red. So let me go in the back and just turn down the blue and the red guns a little bit, and we'll see if we can clear this up. So, try not to shock myself here. So this should be the blue, I'm sorry, this is the red. There we go, so that's, now you can see we just have blue. So let me find the blue gun, which I think is here. There we go. Alright, let me see what else we got. So there's still some overlapping there. Let me see if I can bring the red in a little bit more. Get it back to where it belongs. There we go. And just take a look at my blue setting again. What happens if I'm gonna just leave that for that, like that for now. What else? Let's check out our focus here. Okay, so that looks like it's out of focus. Let me try adjusting focus. Let's see how this looks. Okay, that's better right there. And then I turn down the screen. So these last two adjustments I'm doing right on the flyback itself. There we go. So let's do something like that. And then if I turn the brightness up, just a hair. Whoops. There we go. So that's much better. That looks a lot nicer. Let me see what some of these other things look like. Man, that's really weird. So what is going on there? Is that just brightness? Let's go back to the screen setting here. There we go. So I just had it up too high. And we go back to my brightness. So I'm just playing around with some of these different values here. I'm thinking that it might just be just set too high. Huh, that's interesting. Let me try this. So for this, I'm actually just messing with the contrast and the brightness, trying to dial it in here to get the right result I'm looking for. Just seems dark to me. I don't know, does it seem dark to you? Let's see what else we have. Oh, that looks better. That's actually not bad. Why does this look so yellow though? I think my red gun is set too high. Let's see. I don't know. Does it look yellow to you? Looks yellow to me. I should probably clean this, huh? It's got a yellowish hint to it. What if I try out the green gun? That's a little better, maybe. It's actually not bad. I don't know. Maybe it's just my eyes. What else we got? We have that. That's actually not that bad of a place to start. That actually looks pretty good. Let me just see if I can dial that in a smidge more. I really don't want to mess it up too much though. Maybe just like that. Let me go back to my checkerboard and make sure I didn't screw it up. No, that's not bad. All right, what do you think? I'm gonna play around with the brightness a little bit more. Just try to, it's hard because as I crank up the brightness, there's an overlap here where the white just washes out into black and stuff. So yeah, I gotta finesse it a little bit to try to figure out how to get it nice and crisp, but also have it bright. All right, I think I have it pretty darn good. It's really a balance of getting the brightness down and having just the focus really be dialed in. The rest of these are actually pretty good. This is the only screen that I'm a little because you're supposed to see, you know, white, gray, and then just barely see gray, and then blue, a darker blue, and then just barely see blue, and so on and so forth. I'm not seeing anything here, but if I bring the brightness up, it just all gets out of focus, and so I'm sure this thing could use a cap kit and a few other things, but I'm just trying to get it on its feet and see where we're at. Other than that, I mean, I think it looks pretty decent for sure. So yeah, now it's just waiting for the RAM to come in. All right, so a week has passed. We have our new RAM in there. I actually didn't have a narrow 24-pin socket, so I took a fat one and just trimmed it down so that I could slip it in there, but it looks like it fits just fine. So will this fix the problem? Let's see. And oh, it did. Sweet! I could probably rotate this in post so you guys can see what I'm seeing here. Actually, alright, so this is good. So we got gameplay, but the colors look a little bit off. Yeah, the colors are definitely off. But the sound's working. I see some weird pixelation going on over there. Yeah, there's definitely something weird going on with the video. But at least it's working. Wow. So, alright, so there's a couple of issues here. First is the color data getting sent out is completely wrong, and that might have something to do with the color proms, what color palette is being selected. And then this other issue here with the blue bleeding over that, I'm not sure. That almost looks to me like an analog issue on the blue from the PCB to this monitor. But let me start with the simplest of the two. So let me dig into schematics a little bit and see if I can figure out what's going on with the color selection. I'm not really familiar with the Double Dragon schematics, so I'm gonna have to poke around a little bit. But yeah, let's start from there. I'll pull up the schematics. I'll take a look at the video PCB stuff and see if we can figure out how these colors are generated. So this is the Donkey Kong schematics that I found online. And we're looking at the CPU PCB. So I think the, you know, all the video stuff is generated on the video PCB, but then it's sent to the CPU PCB before it's finally, you know, sent out to the connector. That's where the connector is. So the stuff has to eventually make its way to the top, and it does that through these edge connectors. So I was scrolling through this, and I'm looking for basically, if you're looking for color prom information, just look on your schematics for where the RGB signals are getting sent out, and then work your way back, because those are really the last, or one of the last logical elements in that chain. You know, you generate your color finally, you pass through, you know, some transistors or some resistors or whatever to convert that digital color to an analog signal, and then it gets sent out to the monitor. So I'm just looking for the RGB outputs on the schematic that gets sent out to the monitor here. And I'm not seeing it. Oh, there it is right there. Okay. So you can see here I got, what is it? GBR, and I have my resistor network here. So this is digital, and then by the time you pass it through these resistors, it becomes an analog signal. And so if I trace this back up, I should be able to see where these are coming from. So it comes through this, which is probably just some kind of buffer, or it's a flop. I can see the D and the Q. And then these are them right here. So we have two color proms. One is an 8-bit color prom, one is a 4-bit color prom, and together you get 12, and each signal RGB gets 4 of those, so that makes sense. So I'm going to start poking around in here, and I notice there's a lot of color sources, right? Like maybe sprites, maybe background, maybe characters, you know, the alphanumeric characters. And so I'm not clear what some of the stuff means, but these are muxes, right? So these are switches that basically just it'll switch between all the different inputs. Looks like we have 4 of them going out to this one, 4 of them going out to this one. And then if I scroll all the way down, I bet you these are all using the same select signals. Yes, they are. So these are the select signals for all of these muxes. and they basically will switch between all four. And so, is it an issue with the muxing? Is it an issue with the proms themselves? That I'm not sure. I'm going to start taking a look at the proms themselves, the inputs, making sure that nothing's stuck, right? Maybe we're stuck in some color bank, and rather than bounce around to the proper color banks, we're stuck in one, and that's why the colors look funky. But this is where I'm going to start. I'm going to start looking at this. Actually, I'll probably start just here and work my way back, right? It's probably the smartest thing to do. Maybe this thing is working properly, and then by the time the data gets here, a couple of these registers are not flopping around. They're just stuck at some state. Who knows? So I'll probably start here and making sure that all these are bouncing around and just keep working my way back in this direction. But I have a suspicion that it's something on this page. Alright, so I discovered a few things just so we're all on the same page. I misspoke before. These are actually not color proms. These are actually RAMs. And this is the first time I've ever seen an arcade game with this kind of architecture before. But what it allows you to have is a dynamic color proms. You can think of it that way. Rather than have these fixed palettes, color palettes, it's like a blank slate. It's just RAM, and the CPU can fill it with whatever it wants, and so it can change the color palette on the fly, which is kind of cool. And it does that by driving this signal down here. Where is it? Right here. This PAL signal, palette, I guess. And that feeds in some logic, which triggers the write enables to these RAMs, and then the CPU can start dumping data into it through the data bus, which is up here on the top. And it goes around through this bidirectional buffer, and it just fills up these RAMs with palette information. So anyway, I don't think it's an issue with this guy or the RAMs themselves, because theoretically, let's say one of these bits was stuck high or low. That would only change one value out of the 12 that are here, one bit out of the 12 that are here, which means instead of getting like a red, you might get a little bit of lighter red or a darker red or a lighter or darker green, but it wouldn't cause massive color issues like we're seeing. So because of that, I think it's actually still a selection of the bank within the color palette, which makes me think it's an addressing issue to the RAM here, to the palette. So it's this side. Now, if you look, they're all the same thing, right? It's an LS143, 153, 153, 153, and so on and so forth. So I think what I might do is, I have these little test clips here, right? This thing here, where I can hook up my logic analyzer to this end. So I think what I might do is just wire it up for like a 153, and then that way I can just clip it on a single 153, look at it with my logic analyzer. If it looks good, move on to the next one, move on to the next one, and that way I don't have to keep taking all the probes on and off. So these are handy. You can find these on eBay. And they just clip onto an IC, and then you can hook up your pins there, and then that way if you need to move on to another similar part or something like that, or maybe you want to save your setup, right? You hook all this up, you have it locked in and saved in your logic analyzer, you can just unclip this, put it aside, and then if you need to work on that board again later, you can just clip it back on. So these are handy, and I got a ton of these. So let me do that. Let me set all that up to look at a LS153, and let's see if we can find the culprit here. Alright, I can't figure out what's going on with this yet. So I did, like I said, I had the clip that all made up, and I checked out all of those muxes. They all looked fine to me. I couldn't see what was going on. But one thing I did notice is that I think we might just have to do this debug this a little piece at a time. If I reboot the game and watch the background color as it's going through self-test, you can see it's got a greenish hue to it, okay? And, then of course this thing boots up. I don't believe that greenish hue exists in the actual game. Let me go to, where's my little cursor here? If I bring up MAME for a second, okay, you'll see here, it's black, right? And then it goes to the splash screen, which is also black. In our case, it's yellow, and it does some flashy business. So what I would like to do is pull this RAM that I just put in. I'm going to pull it out. It's going to cause the self-check to fail, but what it'll do, more importantly, is it'll stay on that self-check screen where it has okay, 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 and then bad. And it'll stay in that static screen where the background should be black, and then that way I can kind of probe with my logic analyzer and say, all right, I expect to see black. In other words, I expect to see just a ton of zeros pouring into those RGB circuits. And obviously it's not, it's green, so if I can identify, yes, I see that it's green, I can start working my way back through the schematics and then figure out what's going on. Let me kill this here. So let me do that. I am going to pull this guy out. I'll go ahead and put it back into self-test mode. I know it'll hang, that's good. And then I'll probe around, see if I can figure out why is it green, and I think that'll give us clues as to where the problem might be. Alright, so I pulled the RAM out, and now we're stuck in this self-test mode. So I got my green hue, which is what I want, and I'm probing the RAM that actually, that dynamic RAM, I'm sorry, that dynamic color prom, if you want to think of it that way, that can dump out the RGB data. So in this case, I think it's just dumping out red and green, and I have my probe hooked up to just the green values. So I'm looking at my logic analyzer here. The top value is the green value that's getting sent out to the monitor, and I got my write enable so I know when this RAM is getting written to, and then I see an address. And so it is 3 all the time that it should, during the black section I should say. It's 3, and it's not 0. And you can see here, if I scroll over a little bit, you can see it jumps from 3 to F, 3 to F, 3 to F. Now F is white, right? If you want white on your monitor, that means the red, green, and blue guns have to be at their max value. So if you have 4 bits, the max value in hex is F. So, and the minimum value is 0. So I should be seeing 0 F, 0 F, 0 F. As the beam is coming across here, it's actually switching from white to black, white to black. That's exactly what we're seeing here on the logic analyzer. But it's 3, it's not 0. And so what I want to check now is, am I writing 3 into the RAM? If I'm writing 3 into the RAM, and it's not the RAM's fault, it's just, you know, regurgitating what I wrote into it. So I need to now just kind of run a quick test and see what I'm writing. If I'm writing 3, well, then I got to take a look and see what's going on the write path. But if it's writing 0 and it's reading back 3, then I think we have another bum RAM. Alright, so I have my logic analyzer armed, which means it's waiting for a trigger, and in this case the trigger is a write to the address in question that should be sending out black, which is 100. So unfortunately, there's no writes going on to this RAM while it's in this mode, right? It goes through some self-test, it fills the RAM with a bunch of values, so you are doing writing during that state, but once you've failed self-test, it just sits there and gets kind of hung in a loop. And so I have to force it the game to reboot so I can get the RAM to be written to, and there's no reset button on this PCB. So what I had to do was kind of figure out where the reset logic was and hook up a little probe, and that's what this little guy is here. So if I ground this, then we should see the game reset. Let me put it up here so you can see. And while I ground this, oh, there we go, I actually did it twice. And let's look at it. Hey, alright, so it did trigger, and we can see here I'm writing. That's what the write enable does. Address 100, 0. So that's what we want to see. So I think we might have a bad RAM. Well, that sucks. Because I don't think I have any of these on hand too. Incidentally, these are the same exact configuration RAMs as the one we just replaced. They're both 2K by 8, but this is a much faster RAM. I wonder if I could just cheat for a little bit here and use that one. And of course, I'll go ahead and replace it with the right one with the right timings, but just for the purposes of seeing if I'm on the right track here and finishing up this video, I'm going to try taking the RAM that I had in there, because luckily I bought 2 of them, and I'll stick that one back in there, and then I'll stick the other one in there, and who knows, maybe we'll get lucky. So I just pulled the old RAM out. I just thought this was cute. I'd show it to you guys. So they really want you to use this part number with the 55 millisecond access time. I think the ones that I have in the other chip, the one that goes right here, is like 150 milliseconds, so I don't think it's going to work. But like I said, maybe it'll just at least get us you know, there where we can, you know, prove to ourselves that it is definitely a RAM issue. I'll get some on order. But anyway, let's put the new one in here. Alright, new RAM installed. I don't think this is going to work, but I'm actually curious to see what kind of graphical glitches we're going to get with this. So, oh, our green background is gone. What? I wonder if it's going to show glitches though when all the characters are running around though, because this is kind of a static screen. Wow, I'm surprised. Look at that, it's fine. Huh. Well, why are they so concerned about the timing? Wow, well this is good news. Yeah, because actually I had bought 2 of these guys, and so I just had another one to throw right in there. Wow, look at that. I think we have it. Cool. I mean, I'm going to monitor this and see if I see any graphical glitches or anything like that that would suspect I need a faster RAM, but wow, who would have thunk it? Cool. Well, I'll tell you what, let's pull this out of here now, and let's put it back in the cab and play some Double Dragon. Okay, here we are back in the garage. I got the board stack in here. Let's see, I turned the sound down. And anything? Anything? Oh, I see something. Why is it so dark? Huh. It looked nice with the test pattern generator hooked up to it. I'm not seeing any green. I'm barely seeing blue and red. I do see what appears to be white, so that means I do have green. Just some green. I wonder if it's a bad connection. What happens if I wiggle this cable a little bit, this edge connector? Oh, it resets the game. I wonder if I just have a really bad video ground here or something. Well, hold on a second. Let me just make sure that this thing is nicely seated. And try again. No. Huh. Well, let me poke around here a little bit. We'll see. I don't know. Almost. I don't think I'm losing a ground. But man, that just looks like I'm barely driving color here. I do remember when we tweaked this, or when I tweaked it with the test pattern generator, some of the guns were really high. But I don't see why it would be this bad. I don't know. Let me poke around a little bit, and then we'll come back. Alright, so here's what I discovered. So previously I was playing around with contrast and brightness. I actually turned the guns down because it looked like there was some overlap. So I turned the guns down, and then I had a hard time dealing with the contrast and the brightness. What I should have done was turn all of the guns up and then adjust the contrast. And so you guys remember, let me actually go back a little bit here. I'll just recap real quick in case you guys run into a similar issue. So what I had previously, and I'm pretty sure I can recreate it, was something that looked like, let's see, something that looked like this. Remember that way back when? There's purple, and what I did is I brought the red back and the blue back. I didn't realize that when I put the game in there it was going to be so dark. And so another way to do it is just, well, I'm missing green, right? I have red and I have blue. I need green. So if I add green, you'll see it turns that to white. And then I can just drop the contrast back a little bit and it'll give me my nice sharp edges again. So if I drop contrast down just a hair, there we go. And what I noticed is that now that the guns are actually stronger, when I go back into some of these other settings, that looks way more vibrant. That looks pretty good. And here, and I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but I can distinctly see dark red, green, blue, and gray. So that's awesome. That's what I want. So let me undo the TPG here and hook the board back up, and I hope we see some good results. All right, so I turn the lights off because actually the fluorescents in here really wash out the image, so it's hard to tell on camera how well it looks, but I think I have it dialed in pretty good. Let's see. That's so much better. Still getting brighter actually as we're sitting here. That is so much better than it was before. So yeah, I actually just turned all the guns up, no, not to the extreme, but turned them much more than what they were. And then I dialed back the brightness and the contrast just a little bit. Got my cross hatch pattern looking pretty good. And yeah, I mean, these colors look great. So why don't I clean this up a little bit, put everything back together, and then we can coin it up, test out the buttons and stuff, and wrap it up. Okay, all buttoned up, so let's play a quick game. Actually, I just want to make sure the controls are all working. It's something I haven't tested out yet, the controls. Buttons will obviously have to be replaced, these two, that one, and other than that, polish up the sticks, make them look nice. Let's coin it up and play a game. Wow, that was quick. 3 credits? Oh, I must have held it down too long. Let me see. Is that something with my... How did I end up with... Let me just restart this. I'm curious. How did I end up with 3 credits? Unless that's how the dip switch... No, the dip switch settings are normal. So let me just flick this real quick. Okay, I must have just... Yeah, I was playing around with it. Okay. 1-player game. I remember playing this game for the first time at the mall with my buddy, and we just couldn't get over the fact that, look, you can see the girl's underwear. Alright, let's start a game here. Try punching. I can't tell. Okay. Punching works. Just beat up this guy. How about kicking? There we go. Jumping? Awesome. Everything works. How about a 2-player? Here's my second player. Uh-oh, he's not moving to the right. Up, down, left. Doesn't move to the right. Jump, kick, punch. Hold on. Yep, punching. Yeah, these buttons are junk. Punching! I wonder, hold on a second, let me just reach under here. I'm just feeling to see if these things are hooked up properly. I'll probably have to take the whole control panel off. Yeah, I don't know. Something weird about that one. Yep, that's all it was a loose connection under the control panel. So second player moves around just fine. He can jump, he can kick, he can punch, he can do it all. So yeah, what else? We already talked about the control panel. This thing here needs a little adjustment. You can see here on the side that it's touching the top, and it's also touching the bottom rather. So I can't really move this thing. I don't know what's going on, but it's just stuck. So I may just shave this down a hair so that I can slide it in. I really don't see how it could have swollen. I mean, things swell in this direction, not in this direction. So I don't know, but I can always just trim a little bit, and then that'll be the end of that. The other thing I noticed was that this game doesn't have free play. So it advertises free play in the manual, but what it really means is infinite lives. And so you put the dip switches in free play setting, and you still have to coin up the game to get it to run, and that's no good. So I think what I may do is just throw a coin up in here, and so that'll give me free play. So for those who don't know what a coin up is, it's a little device that I invented. I'll just throw a pickup here so you guys can see what it looks like. But basically what it does is it monitors your 1 and 2 player buttons. And so when you go and press player 1, it tricks the game into thinking you put a quarter in, and then it presses 1 player 1 for you. It starts a 1-player game. When you press player 2, it tricks the game into thinking you put 2 quarters in, and then presses the 2-player button for you and starts a 2-player game, and it works really, really well. So yeah, other than that, I may mask this off at some point, at least the stripes, and bring that red back. Or I may just leave it as it is and throw it in the game room. I got so many other projects going on. And back is totally fine. I mean, I love how clean this thing is. There's just nothing. I mean, I may cap this actually, because who knows how long it's been sitting in that guy's house with the original caps. And this side, you know, again, I may mask this off. I probably won't touch that. So yeah, not a complete restoration, but for $100, man, how can you beat it? So yeah, thanks again, John, for the lead. This is going to make a nice addition to the game room. So I think that will do it, folks. As always, thanks for all your support. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead. And then that way, when I release repair videos and whatnot, you guys will be the first to know. So as always, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one. I wonder if John will want to come over and play with me. Thanks for watching, guys, and hey, if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and check out some of my other videos on arcade game repair. Oh, seriously?